3.
Can social media be helpful for teens by Blake. I came up with the idea for this research question from the first article about how social media can positively affect interfaith discourse in the TED Talk, which is about how online gaming or the communities that gaming creates have potential to solve problems. Both of these articles were about how the internet can have a positive effect on the world. According to a study by Pew Research Center, a large online information center that specializes in social science research, found that 95% of teens have access to a smartphone, which means that 95% of teens can download any social media app and create an account. As you can see from this graph, over the past 5 years, social media has become more and more popular. Today, almost 80% of teens use social media, 70% use social media more than once a day, and 27% use it almost constantly. Okay, some pros of social media. The first pro of social media is that there is a large amount of content on social media that teens can use for inspiration. And social media also gives teens the ability to talk to anyone, giving them access to a diverse range of perspectives and opinions. Both of these can be very helpful for creativity. The second pro is that teens can share their opinions and hobbies and create a virtual identity for themselves using apps like Instagram. They can also become part of a positive community using apps like YouTube or Reddit. The third pro is education. 59% of schools say their students use social media networking for educational purposes. Schools can use social media apps like Snapchat to create group chats where students can collaborate together even when they are outside of the classroom. Also, there are many educational videos on YouTube, some of which are made by experts or professionals. This graph does a good job of showing both sides of the argument for social media. Over 80% of teens thought that social media was good for connectivity with friends, 70% thought it allowed them to interact with a more diverse group of people, and 68% found it good for support during tough times. But almost half felt overwhelmed by social media, and a little under half thought that social media added extra pressure to look good in front of their peers. Some more cons of social media is that teens can be overcome by the constant notifications and activity that is happening on social media. An article by Zemena Bengachia, a Harvard graduate, compared today's notifications to an experiment done on dogs using a bell and food, where eventually the dogs would salivate at the sound of the bell, even when there is no food. The same thing happens for notifications on social media, and they create an almost irresistible temptation to check the app and spend time on it. Also, texting too much on social media can affect teens' social skills because it will make them worse at conversing in person, which requires skills like reading facial features and body language that is not found in texting. The first solution to these problems is for parents and teens to manage social media better. Most of social media's problems, like wasting time and becoming overwhelmed, stem from using social media too much or becoming addicted to it. Parents can be very helpful in reducing their teens' screen time. WebMD suggests that the best way parents can help teens reduce screen time is to find a sport that their teens enjoy, encourage social activities like clubs or volunteering, agree with certain screen time rules, and educate teens about the problems caused by too much social media. Parents should also limit their screen time as well if they want teens to listen to their advice. Another good idea from the National Heart, Blood, and Lungs Institute is to keep phones out of teens' rooms so that they do not spend hours a day laying in bed looking at social media unsupervised. Some limitations and implications of this solution are teens can also reduce screen time by themselves. They can find times that they can cut back on social media, like when they're eating or at school or doing homework. Another good way to cut back on social media is to turn off notifications. Without notifications, teens will not be so tempted to check their phones when they should not be on social media. Limitations and implications. An implication of this solution is that teens will be spending more time on activities, sports, and clubs, which will keep them in shape and also avoid problems caused by texting too much, while still being able to take advantage of the good aspects of social media. The limitations are not all parents have time to manage their teens' screen time, and not every teen will be responsible enough to manage their social media without any parental guidance. As you can see from this graph, over half of parents never manage their teen's social media time. The second solution is to improve/reinvent social media websites. Companies can take it upon themselves to solve most of social media's problems. They can remove harmful accounts from their apps to avoid problems like bullying, and they can also fix their notifications. They can make their notifications less focused on bringing people into their apps and more focused on saving time. If this solution could be fully implemented, it would result in a much more positive social media environment, and the lack of notifications will make it harder to become addicted to social media. The limitations are companies will not want to spend money to get rid of their notifications because people would be less likely to spend time on their app. And companies also cannot find a way to teach teens how to manage social media the right way on their own. Conclusion. I have come to the conclusion that the best solution is for parents and teens to learn how to manage social media better. I think a quote from the first article of the stimulus package sums up my conclusion well. Online tools themselves do not make people more or less tolerant. Their impact depends on people who use them and how they use them. No matter how much social media companies improve their apps, if people do not know how to use them the right way, they will not be effective. Thank you.
Is that Kessler? Is that Kessler? Who?
Oh, that was
the first article.
The first article on, yeah, I think it's Kessler.
Okay, thank you, Blake. So, what information that you needed were you not able to find, and how did you go about trying to find it?
Well, I was really looking for how social media companies could manage accounts like when they're bullying and stuff. Like, I don't think there's many ways to do that yet, but I use EBSCO and stuff.
Okay, and then if you had more time, what other research would you conduct related to this?
I think I would try to find out more things that teens can do to manage their social media time. I think some things that I didn't really look at that much is apps like RPact, which can restrict time easily.
Okay, thank you. You know what, I think that you guys, I think the College Board did this stimulus material with a purpose in mind to get you guys to examine the question